Now, at 12 p.m. this afternoon, Hurricane Melissa made landfall across Jamaica near New Hope in Westmoreland. And at 4 p.m., the center of Hurricane Melissa was located near latitude 18.5 degrees north, 77.7 degrees west, or about 15 miles east of Montego Bay. So as of 4 p.m., it is 15 miles east of Montego Bay. It is moving towards the north-northeast at 8 miles per hour, and maximum sustained winds are now 230 kilometers per hour. So it is now down to a category 4 hurricane. So it is now a category 4 hurricane. Now, hurricane winds extend around about 300 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend around about 195 miles from the center. So in terms of the impacts, what are we looking at? Let's start with the winds. So it is a category 4 hurricane, still a dangerous category 4 hurricane. And in terms of the winds, we're expecting damaging hurricane force winds to continue across Jamaica, especially St. James, Trelawney, sections of St. Anne's, sections of Hanover, and then for the remainder of the island, tropical storm force winds. So, for example, if you're in Portland, St. Thomas, you will get tropical storm force gusts. But if you're in St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Manchester, Clarendon, and so forth, you will still likely get tropical storm force winds. So we're not in the clear as yet. Now, what is in terms of rainfall? We're expecting scattered showers, thunderstorms, heavy rainfall to continue primarily over St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, sections of St. Anne, and then light to moderate showers at times over the rest of the island. So Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. You will still get strong gusty winds, and you will get light to moderate rainfall. In terms of our marine interest, the seas on the south coast will still be rough. So you will have dangerous waves occurring over the south coast. But on the north coast, anywhere between Montego Bay and Hopewell in Hanover, you may get storm surges around about 2 to 4 feet. So in terms of the briefing, that is it at this moment in time. Minister, over to you, sir.
Well, I'm going to follow suit with Minister Morris Dixon. Is there any questions, Ron, at this time?
Skies or an improvement in weather conditions?
Thank you for your question. Now, as it is now, right, in the next 2 to 3 hours, the center of the system will move offshore the north coast and making its way to Cuba. However, as we can see in the system, it is a significantly large hurricane. And even as it moves off, the eye wall will follow behind it, and then the spiral bands will also follow behind it. So tonight into tomorrow, we still will be getting heavy rainfall, and we still get strong gusty winds, storm force at times. Thank you.
You mentioned the storm surges that are expected to take place in specific areas. How long do storm surges normally take to rise?
Sure, thank you for the question. So at this time, as of now and the next 3 to 6 hours, you will have that anti-clockwise rotation that is bringing in waters off the sea into the north coast, and primarily from Montego Bay to Hopewell. So within the next 3 to 6 hours, we'll be getting those waves coming in as storm surges. However, after that, we will still be getting strong gusty winds, and therefore you will have high and dangerous waves as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, while we are now in the full coverage of Melissa, I want to invite the Acting Director General of ODPIM to come, because while we are working to see what is happening out there, we are also making arrangements. We are putting ourselves in a position so when the dust is settled, we can activate immediately the process of getting relief supplies and other things out there. So I'll ask Mr. Thompson just to give a brief update as to what is being taken, what we are undertaking at this time.
Thank you very much, Minister. As we continue our response operation to Melissa, there are certain critical elements that we have to consider going forward in order to ensure that we are still responding effectively to our people and to the general population. So we are having a number of meetings, which is critically to look at all the areas that is important in the after the blow or when the all clear is given. One of those areas that we are looking at is our logistical operations to support relief clearance and also to support relief distribution. So we have within the NEOC what is called a logistics cell, which is a very large grouping of individuals which is brought together to look at all these areas in looking at the JDF, customs, airport authorities, and all those areas to ensure that whenever we are getting in supplies coming into country, and we know that we will have a lot of commitment coming from overseas, we will have enough hands on board and a very well put together plan to ensure that when supplies are in country that they are not backing up on the ports. So we'll have forward positions at our main airports and our main seaports to ensure that as the goods come in, that they're off the ports. One of the things that can stall your relief distribution is when your goods come in and they tend to end up in a bottleneck at the port. So we are putting together those operations. We are having those meetings as we go along to ensure that that process is seamless, where every player in that cell have a critical understanding as to what their roles and functions are and how they will influence the entire process going forward. There's another cell that is very active, and that cell continue to meet as well to put together the requirements around damage assessment. Damage assessment is that component that will influence our needs and also determine what we consider to be prioritization. So we will be looking at the comprehensive aspect of damage assessment that in terms will determine how best we handle our relief supplies and to ensure that the goods that we have are getting to the needed population in the shortest possible time, because we understand that in a crisis that needs is critical, where the time that we have to respond is a very short window because people out there are in need and after going through this kind of stressful situation. So we continue to do the planning to ensure that we can continue to respond effectively to our population, and we continue to ensure that whatever we are doing on this side is always to the betterment of our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. So now I just want to give an update today as to what has taken place so far. It is safe to say that our shelters have seen increased numbers. There are close to 15,000 Jamaicans who have gone to various shelters across the country. We also notice that there are communities where residents have gone and have created makeshift shelters. In most cases, we were able to get limited supplies to those persons within those shelters. I want to make the point that the shelters will remain open for as long as it is necessary for the shelters to operate. No shelters can be closed unless those instructions come from myself as the minister or from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. Earlier on, there were concerns raised about a couple schools in Clarendon that refuse to give access to the facilities that is being used as shelters. And in one case, the mayor was instructed to take whatever steps is necessary to gain access to use the facilities at the school. Let me make the point that once the shelters is designated by law as shelters, then the responsibility of the shelters is vested in the municipal corporation and the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. And it is the requirement of the school that once the shelters is handed over, the government, in terms of the Disaster Act, takes possession. And the commitment that is given that once the shelter is handed back to the school, it is handed in almost the same condition that the school gave the shelter to be used as. No, there can be no principal, no board chairman that can take a decision to deny access to any school that is designated as a shelter. And I have spoken to the Minister of Education, and we will ask for an investigation in the matter to ensure that there is no repeat of such an incident that has taken place. And it is something I condemn, and it is something that is not supported by the government. And I want to commend Mayor Joel Williams for the stance that he has taken and for bringing it to public attention. Just an update on the state of the electricity across the country. Up to 4 o'clock this afternoon, over 530,000 Jamaicans, representing 77.33% of JPS customers island-wide, are without electricity. Work is presently underway to restore our service, to give priorities to the critical facilities such as hospitals and water and pumping stations, weather permitting. Fortunately for persons in St. Thomas and sections of Kingston and St. Andrew, they currently have electricity in certain sections of these two parishes that I've just outlined. We want to look at some incidents that have taken place across the island. In Falmouth, the Falmouth Hospital was affected by storm surge and high water level in surrounding areas. We also see the Noel Homes and the Cornwall Regional Hospital has been impacted by flooding and strong winds with structural damage. The Black River Hospital in St. Elizabeth is without power, and section of the roof is damaged. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is conducting an evaluation of the situation, and 75 patients were removed from that hospital to safety. Block roads right across the country. Almost every parish is experiencing block road, fallen trees, utility poles, and excess flooding in many communities. Anian Town, Alley, Seven Rivers in St. James are experiencing flooded bridges, and I guess by the time we have a next update, there'll be more bridges across the country. And the Prime Minister did speak to that yesterday about the question of bridges. We have roads flooded in Dalvey in St. Thomas, Hampton Green in St. Catherine, Caledonia in Manchester, Hill Run in Spanish Town. We have block roads in Ulster Spring, Jacksontown, Trelawney, Glengough, St. Catherine, Falmouth to Springvale in Trelawney, Kingsvale to Prospect in Hanover, Richmond to Kendall in St. Mary, and many other communities right across the country has been affected by block roads. The National Works Agency is mobilizing to clear roads which are possible to be cleared at this time. The municipal corporations are out doing their own assessment in areas that is conducive for that to be done. But I can tell you, the parish of St. Elizabeth is underwater. The damage to St. Elizabeth is extensive based on what we have seen. Sections of Clarendon also is experiencing severe conditions. There are some concerns that has been raised, and we had to put in emergency measures in our infirmaries. The infirmary in Santa Cruz, based on the flooding of the area, was affected. 50 residents had to be relocated to a different section of the facility. The fire brigade station in Santa Cruz was flooded out because of excessive flood waters. And the Ministry of Local Government, through the Board of Supervision, has been monitoring all infirmaries across the country to ensure that our residents in these infirmaries are in good condition. The communication system is holding up in some areas, but in some parishes, the systems are down because of the intensity of the weather system that is presently taking place. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brown told you that the system is still with us. We have reports coming out of Black River of a number of families being trapped in their homes. And it was difficult for the rescue team to get there. We are getting stories, and I don't want to say it publicly before we can confirm it, that there may be a situation that we don't want to happen, but I'm not prepared to say that until we get the full details. But I know at least 3 families were marooned at home and was having difficulty because persons to undertake the rescue could not venture out at the time because of the conditions that exist. And we are hoping and praying that the situation will ease so that some attempts can be made to get to those persons. Just want to advise the public, fallen trees, fallen electrical poles and lines, urging people to stay away. Do not make contact with fallen wires anywhere at all. It is in everybody's interest, especially in the parishes where the system is cooling down, not to take this for granted. We're still not out of the woods. And as soon as the situation presents itself, the team will be out on the road to start the assessment and to make available to the various communities the necessary relief supplies that is required to start the recovery process. We are on standby. Everything is ready. We are just waiting for the system to pass and for some level of calm to come back to the system. Jamaica has gone through what I can call one of its worst periods. Our infrastructure has been severely compromised. St. Elizabeth is the breadbasket of the country. and that has taken a beating. The entire Jamaica has felt the brunt of Melissa. So this is just an update as to what has taken place so far, and I am hoping that by tomorrow we'll be able to give a much more detailed update and to be more specific with some of the information that we are providing. Thank you. So I'm hoping if there are any questions.
Zara Burton, representing Reuters. Question, please, Minister. Can you talk about the families that were marooned a little bit more? There were different posts. I remember there was one in particular where I saw Mountainside, I believe it was, I want to say it was St. Elizabeth, and I was trying to help the person to contact somebody here at ODPEM to get help. Can you at least let us know, because I got an update on Twitter from somebody else saying it looks like they may be getting help. Did they actually get help? That one.
As I said before,
there was 4 babies.
The rescue team made an attempt.
They made an
Right, and based on the attempt that was made, some assistance was offered, but I can't give the full details because, as I said before, this happened in the middle of the system, which would have made it impossible. It would have put the lives of those who would have attempted the rescue. But based on the information that we are gathering, is that that family has been taken care of.
It has been taken.
Yes,
that
yes,
family,
yes,
meaning
yes.
that they were rescued.
Right. Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're talking about the other ones that were marooned. There were some others that were not
Right,
helped.
which was not possible for help to reach them. And we have to understand, and I want the public to understand, that it is going to be difficult during the passage of Melissa today, when the parish of St. Elizabeth was under severe pressure with water as high as my waist. It made rescue impossible. Roofs were flying off right across. So, we are hoping for the best for those persons. And included in one of those homes was a firefighter who went to offer assistance and got caught and could not get out. So we are hoping for the best. And as I said before, we are waiting on the thing to settle before we can speak more wholesomely to what has taken place.
Okay. Any deaths so far reported?
I cannot speak about that now because I've not gotten anything official to say that there are deaths. Let us hope that there are none so far.
Okay. Any damage assessment at this point preliminarily?
It is not possible to do any assessment at all on damage because nobody right now can go to do any assessment. As I said earlier on, once we are given the window of opportunity, then our first priority is to get relief supply to the hundreds of Jamaicans, the thousands of Jamaicans who at this time do not know what their fate is. That is our first priority, is to get relief supplies to those who are in need, and then the assessment will come after.
Okay. In terms of the relief supplies, I know this morning there was an announcement about the 30th of October, this Thursday being the date that Norman Manley International Airport would be able maybe to accept flights in for relief. Is that still on track?
I can only speak from this platform that the Office of Disaster Preparedness and the Ministry of Labor and Social Security has food packages which are ready. Once the window is open, we will move. Mr. Thompson just spoke to the measures, the discussions that we've been having in meetings, making preparations to deal with those items that are coming in. Minister Vaz is not here, but the air closed. All our airports are closed, and until we are given the go-ahead before the airports can be reopened. So I can't speak to the question of relief supplies coming into the country at this time.
Question, Minister. Mahiri Stewart, Nationwide News. After this morning's press briefing, you had informed some of us that a disaster coordinator in Westmoreland, Marcine Campbell Carr, had suffered a stroke while responding to a matter. Is there any information you can give in terms of what happened to her and how is she right now?
Well, she was in the hospital and she was awaiting to do a number of tests. I understand that the test has been done. And she's stabilized, but she's still in the hospital. And again, I want to offer, prayers to her and to thank her and to say to her family, we really appreciate the circumstances and wish her all the best and a speedy recovery.
Right, and you were also saying that despite that incident, persons that were still seeking to report disasters in Westmoreland were able to do so.
They were able to do so. And again, I want to commend the team between Westmoreland, Clarendon, and St. Elizabeth. Despite the challenges, they were able to find means and ways of providing information for us so we know exactly what is happening. And I want to commend the team and to thank them for the efforts that they continue to make under very, very trying circumstances.
Right, and lastly, speaking to Minister Vaz after the press briefing this morning, and he was telling me that the Civil Aviation Authority has been given the green light in terms of when the aid is to come, when the airports are open, they are to present a detailed list of the supplies as they are coming in to ensure that there's no issue in terms of the aid getting to persons. Could you just explain that process further in terms of what ODPEM and the Aviation Authority will be doing?
Well, what I can say is any goods that is coming into Jamaica for relief supplies, the government must know in advance. It has to be documented, go through a proper system, and that is one of the meetings that was being held to coordinate the logistics. We are not going to facilitate anyone just flying things in to say that it is coming for relief supplies. And next thing we know, we get an aeroplane with 2 bags of rice, and in the back of it is furniture and fridge and TV. We're not up for that. We are putting in place a proper structure, and that is why the website was created, so that persons can go to that website and indicate, and there's a structure. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, because anything coming into the country, it is a collective response of government that is working to ensure that there's a proper system that is in place and a website that has been established.
I'm not sure if the data would be available to you yet, but are you aware of how much has been donated through that supportjamaica.gov link?
I can't say at this time. I'm not in a position to say, but I'm sure that based on the messages that I've seen and the many interviews that have been undertaken, that there are many Jamaicans right across the diaspora and our friendly countries that have already started, and the engagement I know have commenced in terms of relief supplies. And we have local persons here in Jamaica who have already started to indicate their commitment to join in the restoration and to provide relief supplies.
Andrea Chisholm from TVJ. Minister, you mentioned a school that did not want to be used as a shelter. Could you name the school, please? That's one. And secondly, what schools, right? Thank you for that. And secondly, could you tell us what process will be in place to ensure that schools that suffer any sort of damage as a result of being operated as a shelter is restored so that the students can get back a comfortable environment to learn?
Well, I can give you the commitment that if a school experiences damage because it was used as a shelter, the requisite resources will be found to ensure that the repairs are undertaken, because one of the commitments is that you return the school in the condition that you get the school to operate as a shelter. One of the schools I know that is involved is the Veer Technical High School, and there are a number of other schools, but the name that came was Veer Technical is one such school. And I also must tell you that a number of schools, St. Elizabeth Tech, which is used as a shelter, has been damaged severely by the passage of the hurricane. We have a damage to, as I said before, the St. James Municipal Building has been damaged. The Hanover Municipal Building has been damaged in Hanover. And there are several other facilities that have been damaged. But the schools, I am giving that commitment that whatever is done, the schools will be ready to be reopened once we can identify that that was caused because of persons who use the facility during the period.
Twyla Whelan, Jamaica Information Service. Minister, we have been seeing some instances of the circulation of fake news, misinformation. I'm kindly asking for an appeal to the public to be very careful about the news sources and what they're sharing, because especially international media may not be able to tell the difference. And we've seen some publishings that are just incorrect.
You know, I've been talking about the misinformation for more than 5 days. Almost, I think today is the only day I didn't speak about the misinformation. It is real, and it can affect the reputation of the country, and it can also divert persons who are willing to give. They might be giving to account. And I believe that persons who are giving assistance to the government must use the official support Jamaica.gov.jm, support Jamaica.gov.jm. There is no other website that has been established for funds or any kind of support. And I want to urge those who are sitting in their little corners and trying to deprive the country of the full benefit of those who are willing to give, to put aside their greed and consider the plight of the thousands of Jamaicans tonight who don't have a roof over their head, who don't know where they're going to get the next meal to eat, to have some conscience and remember that a lot of women are out there suffering, mothers, they are fathers too. So I want to echo your appeal by asking persons to stick to the official organization, which is the ODPEM, our website, the Office of the Prime Minister, the Ministry of Local Government. No other entity is authorized to collect donations, whether cash or kind, on behalf of the government of Jamaica.
Zara Burton again. My questions are for Mr. Thompson, please. I would want you, if you can, to give us, in addition to the Mountainside Rescue, if you could tell us how ODPEM has deployed resources, whether it's JDF, JCF, what kind of reports were you getting through the storm, even if you weren't able to help? What kind of reports were you getting through the storm? How were you able to help in other situations?
So information has been coming into the command center. When they come in the height of the storm, sometimes there's very little that we can do in terms of search and rescue. You've heard Minister echo that on many occasions in terms of persons moving early where they can, because it is very difficult for our emergency first responders to get to persons in the height of the storm, like some of the incident that we have received. But there was one incident night before last night that we got the information coming in. We sent out a team to assist to move an elderly couple to the shelter. We got information where the fire brigade was doing search and rescue in Mandeville as well. Minister spoke to another one where a firefighter got caught up as well. So once those information comes into the center, where best as possible, where we can do those swift water, quick search and rescue, we get them done. There is that communication channel. Once we get that information, all those are actioned. But there are times when it has to be a hold, because you just can't put person out there. Helicopters can't fly in this kind of weather. Coast Guard can't sail in this kind of weather. So we just have to accept that that's how it goes. And then once there is clearance and we have to go, we go and we do our rescue operation.
Well, no, I was speaking I overheard here in ODPIM a person who was taking a report. Sorry to eavesdrop, but I did overhear an ODPIM staffer saying things like, overhearing that one person had lost a roof and, needed assistance getting out and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to understand if you could give walk through the kind of reports.
So what I'm saying, once the reports will come in, we log those reports. If it's a situation where it can be actioned, it is always actioned. So if it's a situation where you can't go at that time, then you have to go when there's a clearance for you to be able to go.
Let me thank everybody, but let me just say in closing that this government has been proactive in our planning. We have put the necessary things in place so that we are able to respond when the opportunity presents itself. I want to again commend the team that has been here for the last 3 days, 3 nights, sitting in the command center, gathering the data, getting the information. This is one of the worst experiences that we have ever encountered. We can go back to Hurricane Charlie in 1951. We can go to Hurricane Gilbert in 1980-89. We have had other hurricanes. Beryl last year. We've learned from the lessons of Beryl based on the committee that was established by the Prime Minister to review our performance in Beryl. And we learn from Beryl and we use some of what we learned and we have instituted it this time around. And I want to say to the team, despite the challenges, I think we have done well. The next round is going to be more difficult than preparing for Melissa. Thank you all.